on it here. I like that. Welcome to Oral Hygiene. It's the podcast where we look at educational films, caught films, experimental films, and interesting documentaries. This is Matt. Andrew Shearer is here today. Hello, Andrew Shearer.
Hey, what's up?
I guess we're back to almost properly educational. I think this is our first like actual after school special.
Yeah, it has to be because this was a good bit of programming, this thing here, and I don't mean as in television.
Yeah, exactly. But today it's the Great Chastity Experiment. How's that sound?
Not great.
That's probably where this film is too, but there's a few things to talk about. Can you give us
Yes.
can you give us the quick quote unquote plot?
Yeah, this is about I guess they're in college, right? They got to be in their early
I
20s. Something.
yeah, I thought it was high school for some reason, but
I don't
actually
know.
college makes a lot more sense now that you're saying it. So yeah, let's call it college.
Yeah, it just makes them even bigger losers. So this is about a young woman who was editor of her college newspaper, and she is entering the the going past the first base stage of her relationship with this guy, and she's struggling with the idea of having sex or waiting. So she gives Chastity a chance.
Yeah, yeah. I would just my first note is the Great Chastity Experiment. I guess it was high school for me.
Oh yeah.
As a yeah, yeah, just what a oh yeah, put my park for teenage booty was Linux Park,
Was
which
it
used
Lennox Park?
well it used to be very empty, right? I think now there's lots of stuff there, but
Yeah, I think I got up to some mischief in Lennox Park at some point or another. That was a long time ago. Steve
uh,
ran with blood.
but yeah, I did think it was fun in the beginning seeing the photo darkroom. I guess we don't have those anymore, but I spent half maybe that's why I was thinking high school because I spent like half of my senior year in the darkroom.
Yeah, tell them what you wrote there about not having sex, but what'd you find in there? I want to hear more about this.
Oh, okay, great. But I wrote didn't do no fucking, found photos of people fucking though. So
Right. Who'd you find pictures of in high school? That's not.
it
I mean,
wasn't actually people banging. Well, they probably were, but the picture didn't have that. But we found it was on a top shelf where a guy like a year ahead of us had shot a bunch of naked pictures of his girlfriend who also went to our school in the forest. So it was all these like forest pictures with
oh, so
nudity.
very tasteful. Oh, so this was someone you knew at school, and you found naked pictures of someone you knew at school.
Yeah,
Well, jackpot.
yeah, I know. So,
Yeah, well, bad choice of words, I guess.
but it was the it was people the year above me. So it wasn't the year I spent half my year in the darkroom, I guess, but it was the
Hey,
year
but
before
that's
that.
that's awesome though. That's what you always hope to find,
Exactly.
like dead rats or evidence of a murder.
So he didn't hide it well enough. And
Eh,
also, was he not concerned that someone would come stroll in? Well, we had like the big dark room, right, where you could probably fit about 12 students. Maybe they had 12 enlargers, and then there was the small dark room, which had two enlargers, and was for the advanced students. So
hmm, maybe he was just trying to help people with their own enlargements. He
yeah,
was like, he was like, he was like, hey man, give me a dollar, I tell you where these are.
right. No, no, I don't think he wanted them found. But it was in the advanced dark room, advanced photos in the advanced dark room. So
Okay, well, if they were in focus, man, rock and roll.
tasteful nude, you know.
Hateful news. Yeah,
But
I didn't enjoy any of this woman's coworkers. This had a very high end quality. I think after school special is a good way to describe. What year was this made? 80 something?
85, 86, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. See, so the culture was in full on like Porky's mode. Those movies like that were coming out, where there was a lot of teenage, well, even though they're played by 30 and 40-year-olds, sex movies and stuff like that, or movies about people dying to lose their virginity. And so this was a bit of, I thought, counter programming for that.
Right, because the after school special is supposed to take all the air out of the balloon, right?
Like, well,
What?
good way to describe it. Yeah, and that's what happens to her. A lot of long scenes of conversation between her and this guy.
Yeah, and okay, one realistic I do remember in university occasionally having that style of pointless gibbering, like not quite an argument. It just always feels like an argument, you know, because that's what
Yeah,
teenagers do.
yeah, no, it seemed like a colossal waste of time to me. I think there's probably a reason why they experiment with sex so much at young ages, because otherwise, hanging out, what do you got to talk about? Nothing's happened to you yet. And you got something to talk about.
That's a good point. Okay, I wish I should have had that that argument. except that argument makes you an asshole, I think.
No, probably. I certainly never went there
Hey,
with any.
hey, baby, you don't have anything to talk about. You haven't lived enough.
That's right, man. Let's make our own memories.
So yeah, that's what this movie needed. They needed the boyfriend to be like way sleazier or something. Put some real pressure.
Yeah, he was creepy. I mean, she, obviously it should be your choice, and another movie would have him pressuring her to do it or whatever. But he was actually very patient, very understanding. But also around the fact that was she was conflicted by it, but he didn't, he was never like, hey, what you conflicted about? They made him actually they wrote a real character for him and a real character for her, which I thought was cool.
Yeah. It wasn't an after school special, but it's definitely in the same vibe as the old grandpa farter film we did a month or so ago.
Sure, yeah.
The Trouble with Grandpa. There it is. Old grandpa farters.
I like The Trouble with Grandpa. This one, it's really, I think, trying to be like a real movie so people would take its message more seriously,
Right.
and I think in that regard it does a good job, but it really spends a lot of time spinning its wheels. Like, this thing is 20 minutes, but at a certain point they're belaboring the point, and
30 with commercials.
yeah. You can tell me what you think about this, but I thought maybe they wanted the audience to experience the same frustration as someone who might, when dealing with a situation like this. You're just like, dude, just do it or don't.
Because what is the result where they're sort of like, oh, I got to know you this week, and once I got to know you, it turned out that you were an asshole.
I know. That's a good point. After all the conversations about waiting and all the struggling and things like that, she is, what happens is they decide to wait a week, and without like doing it and just hanging out, even though they've already done that for 2 months or whatever the guy says. And so, as it turns out, yeah, they've got to know each other really well. But the part of this movie that really gnawed at me was how she became once that period of time was over. And it was a very weird moment between the two of them.
Yeah. Again, I wrote, haha, fuck these kind of arguments, pre-25 shit, I think. Okay, so I guess I was reading them in college in the end and just juxtaposing my high school there.
But I mean, she's pretty much going like, she doesn't know what she wants to do, and he's trying to be, I don't know, who'd you side with in this situation?
She was less annoying in the end. He was just all annoying.
Yeah, he flipped out.
Yeah, just by being annoying, you side with the young lady. Do they have names?
Yeah, because
I don't think I ever wrote down names.
there's really only two people in the movie. He becomes really enraged, like the typical nice guy behavior of now. He's like, look, man, I put all my, I went through all the mazes, and I solved each quest, and so I should get my reward now. But now you're saying, all the quests and and mazes meant nothing. So he flips out and he goes home. But then she feels bad.
What's like at the end of the game or at the end of the movie where it's like the treasure was inside you the whole time.
We're not gonna say how it got in there.
Yeah. Um, something that kept bouncing through my head as well watching this was it was probably also 10 or more years ago. Is I think a Tim and Eric sketch where David Cross came on and sang his song about chastity. It started off with he shows up as the pizza guy and the he's delivering the pizza and the woman's coming on to him and
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've
and
seen that. No, that's a good comparison to make because, I mean, you're watching this and you're going like, well, I'm glad she's not being attacked. I'm glad she's not being pressured, but at the same time, she's just like very confusing.
yeah, I mean she probably shouldn't be dating at this point is the bottom line.
Yeah, it's maybe still. I mean, because there's no rules about when this stuff is supposed to happen to you. It can happen to you earlier, and you can be very traumatized by that, or can when it does happen to you, that could still be there's no map for where you're going in terms of this stuff.
I mean her focus is clearly the newspaper at this point, so
Yeah, no, she doesn't want to. I mean, it could really get messed up if her head's in another place because her job already begins to suffer just from being in that relationship.
yeah, the only names I wrote here were Luigi, Mario, and Kip Winger, and I'm pretty sure none of those were these characters.
Those are her cohorts at the paper.
Yeah. That's what this would really spiced up this movie, a cameo from Kip Winger.
Oh God. Yeah. Except for he'd have to change his lyrics to the song 17 and be like, she's only 32.
Yeah.
32.
Well, like you said, there's no life plan. She got into college, a little later.
Yeah. Well, I mean, why not?
It
Anything could
happens.
happen.
Exactly.
There's probably somebody out there that lived this.
Most of the films that we do on this podcast are, ephemeral for some reason or another. This one seems ephemeral in that you tend to forget about it pretty quickly.
Yeah, other than the looks he gives her when she's really freaking him out, and he's starting to get that Keith Gordon look from Christine or any Keith Gordon role.
Build the blue balls. Okay.
he's he's I don't know. I didn't know what I was going to expect him to do, but he definitely in the end did the nice guy thing where he freaks out.
The nice guy thing where he freaks out. That's cool.
Yeah, because they think they think they've put a down payment on the vagina, So it's just a way of thinking that sadly is not really changed that much.
That line should have been in the movie, just painted right out. I put a down payment on the vagina.
It's a layaway at Kmart's. Here with my final payment.
But my last note is a whole TV episode and almost literally nothing happened, which I guess that's the point there. That's the metaphor, the meta of this movie, right? Nothing happened.
Yeah, no, I think if you had some sort of satisfying ending, that would constitute like what's the word, consummation. And it doesn't occur, so it's not going to occur for you in the narrative structure, right?
This movie should have ended the same way North by Northwest did. The train going into the or maybe with a Naked Gun where they really took it 5 steps. This movie should have ended that way.
or just the a tower falling.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah.
An inchworm in reverse going into a hole. Something like that.
That'd be cool.
Its own body.
Actual shrinky dinks.
Yeah. Golf pencil down a hallway.
That could have been the final scene in this movie. They get into a pack of shrinky dinks because they're not doing anything else.
No, and why not? Stock up on puzzles.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. God, there should have been a part 2 of this. Maybe not.
It made me, maybe because the Cobra Kai shows on TV now, but yeah, it made me think of that. Like another thing that went through my mind was that golf hangout place in the Karate Kid movie. I guess
I've never seen
that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I saw it in Spanish class, but I don't even remember. It was in Spanish. No, I don't remember.
What is kid in Spanish?
I don't remember. I had 3 years of it, but I don't remember very much. I remember the colors, some basic things.
Yeah. You couldn't change the karate part, though. I guess you could say You could say karate, couldn't you? Okay.
Karate niño. El karate. I don't know, man.
See, it's not pretentious if I live in Japan and say it the correct way, is it? people
No.
people won't understand things like Honda, Honda cars, right? If you say Honda, Japanese people might not understand you. You actually need to be like Honda.
Nice.
And our friend Mark was here once and was asking a guy because he had like manga and stuff, and he was asking, "Oh, you have Acura?" But it's gonna be Akira. So he's like, "Acura, what's that?" Akira.
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 Yeah.
You gotta
Yeah.
say it
You
the
got.
right way, or they won't understand.
Yeah. No, that would mess me up.
Same thing going the other way. For example, what's a good example? Do you have some Tish? Can you give me a Tish? That's what we'll say for tissue, right? So Tish.
Jeez.
So it's in English, but you wouldn't understand it. And there's another one that's salada.
I would get that. It's salad.
It's salad, but it throws you off because I always think when someone says it, the first thing that goes through my mind is like salsa.
Oh no, it
Salada.
just the
Salada.
emphasis is in different places. Yeah. No, I get it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. So it is interesting how when you go between languages, sometimes what we think it's just obvious. Another thing, my last name's Comegys, right? Like I've had it spelled out using different characters in Japanese, and like which one is? I'm like, they both seem fine to me. It's my name because it's a ka or ko. I'm like, I don't care. But in Japanese, that's a different character for ka or for ko. So
Yeah, yeah. So you gotta pick one. Otherwise, they're gonna mispronounce. They're gonna
yeah,
call
but
your name. Like, who is that?
yeah, but I think I answer differently at different times. I have like official documents with where I technically have different names, so that's not great. I mean that hasn't. I just remember that being a problem like again like 10 years ago. So
I don't have that problem.
no, you wouldn't have that problem.
I just mess up my name, just generally.
I live in the weird world where I basically haven't done any paperwork to speak of for years, so that's kind of cool.
That is cool because it's a time suck and a soul suck.
I know. I haven't
wouldn't
spent much time in
recommend.
government offices. It's great.
I wouldn't recommend this movie to people that are fans of educational films. I think it falls in the later category of way past the golden age of this stuff, and thus it kind of loses any charm it would have had, and instead it just plays like part of a movie that you don't get the ending for.
Again, it's like the Karate Kid, but without any of like the karate parts. So
Yeah, no, I would attach either a sex scene or a chainsaw double murder.
or both. Why not both?
True,
that's
and
par for the course in the 80s.
yeah, and in any order that you choose, I suppose.
I wrote he'll probably end up as a human caterpillar. I don't even know why I wrote that.
Like the one in Freaks, just because a guy doesn't like macaroons.
Yeah. There is one like I don't. That's one that's still controversial. I'd probably get flack for doing Freaks on the podcast.
Oh yeah, well there is sort of a yeah.
I think it's gone back. I think it's gone back into being like more controversial again. Like there was maybe a little window of time where people was like, "Oh, it's an interesting movie," but now people are like, "Oh, you got to show more sensitivity."
Yeah, true, but now you've got movies where people are with facial differences or bodily differences or whatever. They're actually making movies that are addressing things like Freaks.
Right.
There's one called For Life that I really enjoyed. Another one called oh gosh, I can't remember the name of it, but Alison Midstock is in both. She's a really good actor, and she's got a very different looking face. Where most people in the old days probably would have cast her as some sort of monster, but now she can actually comment on that kind of stuff. So maybe it's turned around the other way. Who knows?
Yeah. So I mean, people might not want to watch something like that now. Just they feel dirty doing it. I mean, Freaks.
They would. They would. Should, you dirty bastards.
Yeah.
But this is. I still think what we are talking about is worse.
Yeah.
The intents of it are very clear, and I don't think they're very well advised.
Yeah, I guess in the end, the great Chastity experiment should have been called a Blue Balls, the movie, but then it wouldn't have titty in the title anymore. So Chastity.
I love that note. It still has titty in the title. Who's Chaz? Check out the titty on Chaz. Chastity when you can have Chaz titty. I don't know. You can just
okay.
do hand stuff.
Just do hand stuff, like from across the room.
Just do hand stuff with each other.
Oh, have you? Sorry, I'm maybe talking about things I've done in other podcasts, but have you watched the Rainbow Bridge movie?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know the scene where the woman's like totally coming on to him, and he's just coming up on with the that's what I kind of wanted this movie to be, I think.
Oh well, gosh, you're really aiming too high for
the lamest excuses ever, right?
Yeah, no, you're not getting anything like that happening here. That was a good reference. I haven't seen that in forever.
Baby, I want to be in love. I don't want to make love. Something like that. It's like, dude, again, thinking of the David Cross video there.
Yeah. Should probably link to that as well as the movie itself.
Yeah. It's probably more entertaining anyway. So.
Oh yes, it's absolutely more entertaining. We don't want to, completely waste your time.
And it's shorter.
It is.
You want to give them the keys to the doors to your kingdom of things?
Yeah, man. Go to www.gonzorific.com. There's links to all of where you can buy movies from us. Me and my friends make here in Athens, Georgia. Titles such as Bad Girl Dracula and Areola Jones and the Home Video Vixens available now, DVD. We got some merch going, posters, things like that. And just have yourself a good time and show the independent artist that you enjoy what they do.
Which you're increasingly having to go to their website to do.
Yes, it is that way, isn't
go
it?
Go to the website. This one doesn't really have a website per se. It's just Aural Hygiene Pod at Facebook, Twitter, all of that. I guess I'll go music plug today. Hear some music. You hear sounds at the beginning of this podcast. You hear some at the end. That's at rovingsagemedia.bandcamp.com.
It's a heck of an edit point. Just look for the stutter.
I'm not editing that. Why would I do that? I don't edit these things.
It was great.
What did I have to edit? Yeah, there's just a few pauses here and there, but this one I'm lazy. I barely edit. I'm just like, everyone seemed like they were talking. I don't have to do anything. But okay. Mental. Ooh.
This is a book
that's
about
the book.
Yeah.
It's Mental Hygiene by Ken
Smith.
Smith.
Classroom Films, 1945 to 1970. So it doesn't cover everything that we've talked about, but pretty good.
Yeah. That looks like a solid sender, man.
Great word, dude. It was used.
So for anyone listening, it's time for you to begin your great chastity experiment. Yay!
That's right. Only listen to podcasts when you're with a date.